NeuralTarot. Today, we're diving into the unseen pattern of market crashes. We're not just going to look at the crash itself, but at the forces that make it an almost, well, inevitable reflection of the optimism that came before it.
And that really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? I mean, the climb up can take years, fueled by this slow build of confidence, but the fall? The descent can happen in a matter of weeks, or sometimes even days. That imbalance, it's not random. It's a clue that there's a deeper pattern at play.
Exactly, and that pattern you see, it doesn't start with the panic. It starts way back, in the euphoria. To understand the avalanche, you first have to understand what it felt like at the very peak of the mountain, right before everything gave way. Okay, so let's start there, with that slow climb up. During this time, a really powerful story takes over. This feeling that things are just different this time. A sense of inevitability kicks in. Every little dip, that's not a warning sign. No, it's just a chance to buy more. And that's when you start hearing these big, sweeping narratives, kind of like the one you see here. They feel solid, right? Like they give you a real, rational reason for why prices just keep going up and up. The belief is that there's been some fundamental shift, and the old rules just don't apply anymore.
Right, this belief in relentless expansion. And this is where a classic mental shortcut kicks in. Extrapolation. We just start to assume that the way things have been going is the way they'll always be going. We project that recent trend out into the future indefinitely. And eventually, that feeling it goes universal. It's not just a few people. It becomes a shared belief system. And at this point, if you're skeptical, you're the one who looks foolish. Confidence is the only thing that's getting rewarded. And that feeling of consensus, it feels absolutely unshakable.
But here's the twist. It's at that very moment of peak confidence that the whole system is at its most fragile. The same forces that push the market to these incredible heights have also secretly laid the groundwork for a massive, rapid reversal.
You know, as that optimism keeps growing, something subtle happens. Investment starts to look more and more like speculation. People aren't buying something because of what it's actually worth anymore. They're buying it because they think someone else will pay more for it tomorrow. The momentum itself becomes the reason to buy.
And what's pouring fuel on that speculative fire? Usually, it's leverage. Think of it like a hidden amplifier. On the way up, it's amazing. It magnifies all your gains. But what it's really doing is building this hidden vulnerability right into the structure of the system, a debt bomb that's going to magnify losses with terrifying speed when things turn.
And then, something shifts. It could be anything, really. A small piece of bad news, or maybe just running out of new people to buy in. And just like that, the collective mind of the market starts to flip, fast, from greed to fear.
And it is so important to understand how different those two emotions really are. Greed? That's a choice. It builds slowly as people decide to get in on the action. But fear? Fear is totally different. It's not a choice, it's a primal instinct. It's all about immediate survival. Fear doesn't build, it ignites. Yeah, and there's actually a name for this from behavioral finance, loss aversion. Basically, losing $100 hurts about twice as much as gaining $100 feels good. So when prices start to fall, that pain kicks in hard, and your brain is just screaming at you, sell, make it stop. This is when we stop thinking for ourselves. In a crisis, individual investors, they just stop. They stop analyzing and start moving together like a herd. And, you know, it's not totally irrational, right? If you see everybody running for the door, you probably should run too. But the result is this massive, synchronized wave of selling that just overwhelms everything. So now you've got this psychological panic colliding head-on with that structural fragility we talked about, the leverage. And that's when the system itself takes over and starts to drive the crash, creating this self-feeding downward spiral. And here's exactly how that spiral works. Suddenly, selling isn't optional anymore. The same leverage that made you rich on paper is now working in reverse. Lenders are calling, saying, we want our money back. They issue margin calls. So now you have to sell, even if you don't want to. But you're selling into a market that's already falling, which pushes prices down even more, which then triggers more margin calls. It is a true death spiral.
And then, all at once, it seems like everyone wants to sell, and literally no one wants to buy. That's what's called a flight to liquidity. Suddenly, the ability to sell just vanishes. It's like a crowded theater where everyone is trying to cram through one tiny exit door at the same time. The price you thought you had doesn't mean anything if there's nobody there to pay it.
Okay, so this brings us full circle, right back to our original question. And now we can see the full pattern. The slow climb and the fast fall,
They're not separate events. They're two sides of the very same coin.
Exactly. The climb up is slow because it's built on thousands of individual, voluntary choices to be optimistic and buy in. It's like building a tower, brick by brick. But the fall is fast because it's driven by a synchronized, involuntary cascade of forced selling. It's not building, it's a demolition.
So a crash isn't some random accident or an external shock that hits the system. You have to see it for what it is. It is the system rebalancing itself. It's the logical, almost inevitable unwinding of all the excess speculation and leverage that built up before it.
And this is a perfect example of what we're always exploring here at NeuralTarot. This idea that every extreme carries the seeds of its opposite. Extreme optimism plants the seeds of panic. Extreme borrowing plants the seeds of a collapse. The end was really written in the beginning.
Subscribe to NeuralTarot as we continue to decode the unseen patterns shaping our world.